What's good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Fun with Dumb. I'm your host, Dumbfounded, and during the pandemic, I haven't had many guests on this podcast because people didn't want to come to my studio. It was dirty, and it was probably be a dangerous place to come. But I couldn't turn down this offer over here to interview an artist that I've encountered in the Los Angeles music scene for a decade plus. Filmmaker, producer. Flying Lotus, what's up, bro?
Hey man, that's so crazy. This is like, man, how long have we known each other for? A long time.
Probably over a decade, actually. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
We've just always crossed paths, like,
Always, yeah.
and this is before you were like interning at places and
Yeah, man. Yeah,
club label. Yeah.
yeah, forever ago. Yeah, just like hanging out, watching battles and shit. So cool.
Yeah, man, and it's good to see you first of all because obviously no one's really been out this past year, and we haven't even run into each other because the LA scene is shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, how's that been for you in general? Because have you in the last few years kind of been low key? I mean, I feel like I always see you show up at a spot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to be fair, I'm pretty low key. And the pandemic, I'm kind of like cut out for this stuff. It's like for me, it's like, yeah, it's normal. Just be inside all the time. But I'm hitting my limit, man. I'm like really just kind of like, I'm ready for this shit to be over though.
Yeah.
But I've been making the most of it, trying to do as much as I can and learn as much as I can while I got the extra time.
Yeah, man. And you've done so many different projects and different mediums. I've been a huge fan, not just on the music side, but on the visuals and some of your music videos where you've incorporated so many different types of mediums. One of them being like choreography, and I just wanted to ask you about that in general because you see it pop up a lot in multiple music videos. And is that something you kind of was always into?
I love dancing. I love movement. I love what they bring to this art, and I always find that when I make an album and dancers will make videos and stuff, I always wonder like what they'll make videos to, what they'll dance to, because it's oftentimes like there'll be that dancer that just does the thing I had no idea, doing all like weird abstract popping. I love seeing that stuff. It's so interesting. And it's part of the elements, right, of hip hop and all of that, man. It's like so important. And speaking of which, I was talking to homie and thinking about like how dope it would be if we had a new house night in LA once we come out of this thing. Man, I think I need to dance, man. I need to move, man. I think people want to move a bit. So,
and yeah, I definitely. I mean, I remember just going to Leimert Park in Project Blowed and seeing certain freestyle dancers. And the amazing thing about when you see these like freestyle dancers that get real abstract with it is like you see it and you're like, I think I could do that.
right. They make it look easy.
They give you this feeling like you feel it so much, like you can see that they're moving so much in tune with the music and just letting it flow that you're like, I could do that. You go in there and it's a lot more difficult, but
I bet you can get down though, bro. I bet you get down with it.
I feel like that because when you freestyle as a rapper, you're doing this, essentially doing the same thing, but with words. Yeah. And then when you see the movement part of it, you're like, I still have the same spirit. I think I could apply it.
Yeah.
But it's obviously not the same thing. But one of the dancers that I loved seeing in your video, Until the Quiet Comes, is Storyboard P.
Storyboard P.
I was in a minute. Yeah, and I've just been a fan of his stuff even before I saw that. Like I was seeing videos of him like online, you know what I'm saying, on YouTube and shit. And that was so beautiful, man. That video.
Slidey, man. Just like so crazy how he would do. And he was like, I remember he's just like, what did he have? He had like the weirdest little diet. I think he had like little like iceberg lettuce or something like that. Like he didn't want to eat nothing. It was just like super, just like, I mean, I get it though. You gotta be so physical, you don't want to eat nothing. before you're on camera.
Always thought his name was so hard too.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
just a hard ass name.
He's ill.
Yeah.
Man, are you doing more? Are you doing more film stuff, more visual stuff lately?
I am. I'm writing a lot, trying to produce stuff, working on some animated projects too that I'm pitching with some
I
friends.
love that, man. I love your evolution just as well, man. I love seeing you doing your thing, man. It's so
Thank you,
cool.
bro. Thank you,
Yeah.
man. I feel like that it's just amazing. I always credit like the entry point. I think for a lot of us through hip hop, that was like the entry point, and I never like discredit any of that as I expand into other things. I always say
Right.
the root is battle rap, it's hip hop,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
all that, because I think as people go into other things, they're like, I'm an artist, I'm not this. Nah, like you're this first, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I never say that. Like I'm a rapper that does this
Yeah.
other shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, seeing you going to these, making a film and all that. I'm assuming like when you were before even you were making beats or whatever, like these are things that you wanted to do.
Yeah, definitely, man. There was a moment there where I was pretty sure that music was going to be the hobby, and that was just because I just was doing it no matter what. It was just like I wasn't thinking about trying to make a living off of it. I was just having fun. So I was just like, oh yeah, that'll be the hobby. And then I'll end up on set somewhere as my job. Like I thought that was gonna be the thing. So it just kind of worked out a little differently, but it's cool, man. I mean, now doing like anime and stuff, it just feels like the kind of right happy space for it right now, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because you're very passionate about the visuals as well. So, like, when you create something like a film, is it pretty natural that you're already thinking about the score, like from the
Man,
jump?
yeah. I think it's super inspiring because it's like they can, one thing inspires the other when you're writing something and you got some music to go with it, or it just kind of like sets the tone. It can work the other way around. It can make some music and then it gives you inspiration to write a script or something like that. So it's all hand in hand. It all works together. But it is nice also too to kind of let other people do things. You don't have to do everything. Let some people bring their own stuff to it. And it was kind of cool. A couple projects ago when I was working on my film, I had a couple scenes where I wanted some different music, and it's nice to just kind of like be hands off that moment.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, especially as you score, because, I remember a while back, I worked on a web series with Anderson Paak, and I had him score this web series. It was like a comedy, silly thing, but I remember him doing it for the first time ever and definitely kind of struggling because also you want to do dope shit while not distracting, whether it's the dialogue or the visuals from it. So how was that off the jump navigating it? Because obviously you're excited to score something and create a mood, but at times you got to balance not distracting the scene, right?
Yeah, I think a thing that I had to learn was to just kind of like let them decide on what the volume was gonna be, because I kept being like, can y'all just turn me up, man? Like, why I gotta be so low in the background? Like they got like archers like pulling the bows back all loud and stuff, and my beats all quiet. Like, why you want the bow? You want the bow sound more than the beat? Okay, all right, that's cool. But I just had to like eventually I kind of just like, all right, I trust them. You can't get too emotional about it, but and plus I'm gonna be able to put the soundtrack out, so it'll be fine.
Right.
But yeah, for a minute there, I was just like, all my feedback was like, can you just turn this scene up? Can you just turn this scene up?
You're literally just listening to your beats,
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough because it's hard to separate and just kind of see the whole scene after you put so much work into the music part of it. Then you're just like, oh, you're just burying it under sound effects. It's kind of messed up. But I learned to live with that.
Right. No, I feel that. So also, before we get into like the newest project you're working on, like where did your passion for, animation or an anime start?
Anime? Ooh. me and anime go back pretty far. My cousin showed me Fist of the North Star, like the manga VHS way back in the day. And, you know, he had like some weird stuff that like the Akira, he had, you know, VHS of that. It was like, never seen nothing like that before. Seeing those crazy hand-drawn animations, super detailed, super violent, and nudity and stuff. It was just like overwhelming for like a, you know, 11, 12-year-old. But it was like, where has this stuff been the whole time? Like,
Right.
y'all been holding the good shit back? This came out in the 80s. What happened? You know? But yeah, that was my intro. And then obviously seeing Dragon Ball stuff and, you know, like catching things in between prime time. You know, you wake up too early and then you catch like some like random public access Dragon Ball episode in Japanese. You're like, what the fuck is this? Why is it beautiful?
I talk about this a lot because obviously in hip hop culture right now, and young Black kids are really super into anime right now, you know, and it's something necessarily that I didn't grow up with until I remember like going to Leimert Park and meeting like young, weird Black kids that was like into all types of shit. I go into the homie's crib and he just had all this anime stuff. And this was before I was into any of that.
Right.
And it was interesting because it kind of reminded me like, you know, back then it's like cats didn't know that, you know, there was all these older rapper heads in the like kung fu movies, the way like Wu-Tang was, right? And then you have like the second generation that's into like anime.
Like, yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that. Yeah, that's that makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? It feels like that the new wave of that and how that crosses over, you know.
Oh man. Yeah. My cousin tried to check me, man. He was like, he heard I was doing this anime series and he hit me up on Instagram. He was like, hold up. So do you actually watch anime, bro? Like, what? I've been watching anime since before you was born, kid. I had to have that conversation. I was like, oh my God, I'm saying it. I'm saying yes. I know my shit, man. You know,
that's interesting because I feel like
my card.
You know, like the older shit, and that's not usually the case. I think with a lot of anime fans right now, you know, like that crosses over from like the music world and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Is it just like Naruto and
right? It's like always because I did a couple of interviews with like NBA players for like some other campaign recently, and there's a lot of young NBA players that love anime. Like,
okay. What kind of stuff do they watch though? What do they watch?
I mean, you know, Attack of the Titans. And, you know, they're talking about like the ones that are really popular, like Death Note, One Piece, you know, joints like that. But I always found that interesting, and it's what's going on right now with hip hop culture and young Black kids and anime. Like, do you have an idea of why you think that crosses over so much?
Why it happens? It's a tough call, man. I really have no idea. I remember though going to see Dragon Ball Broly, and that movie was huge when it came out, which for some reason, you know, but like I remember going to the theater and there was nothing but Black people in there. Nothing but Black people in there. I was like, whoa. It was like no Black characters, ain't not a single one of them like at all. Like, yeah, dope. Like, nah. Like, wow. This is crazy.
That is interesting.
It was super trippy. I didn't expect that one, but I think it's awesome. I think it's just so strange that that Yasuke is kind of like the first show done by Black people too, as well. Right. Very strange. It was like even Afro Samurai was done by a Japanese filmmaker.
Oh, so interesting.
It was like, this is like one of the first shows.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so let's talk about that. Yasuke is the new Netflix anime series about to come out, and you know, the trailer got me excited because they were like the Grammy Award nominated Flying Lotus the score, and I love that they showed so much love in that way. You know how important the score was to this as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's talk about this character because I did some research, and you know, based on the original Black samurai that existed in the 1500s. Like, that's wild, bro. It's bugged out.
It is wild. It's super bugged out, and it's something that, you know, along my life I kind of heard whispers about, but didn't have that confirmation. You know, there was not much available on him,
Right.
so it was just like, yeah, it was like just kind of like, is this really real? Is this really happening? You know, and yeah, it's like it's such a trippy story, like the real parts of it, and but I personally just really wanted to kind of go other places with the story as well, other than the things that you can find in a book.
Yeah. So how did this initially, I mean, how'd you get approached for this initially? Because it seemed like a very dream job situation for you, you know?
Oh, bro, it's been a dream this whole ride. I pretty much got a cold call, man, like out the blue, like randomly, you know, by a producer who I met working on another project. He was like, "Yo, you want to make a series about Black Samurai anime? You like anime?" I'm like, "Come on, are you fucking with me? Are you like for real right now?"
Right.
Like, yo, I'm in Netflix having meetings. Like, y'all for real right now? Like, it just kept going. I'm going to Japan having meetings. Is this for real? Like, are we really
Wow.
doing this? Yeah, it's been great. And you know, I got to get involved in like early stage, so I got to see the whole thing kind of blossom from nothing. So I think that's part of why I have such an appreciation for this thing, is because, you know, I remember when it was just like a couple paragraphs, and now it's like the whole show.
That's what I was going to ask you. That's amazing. So they kept you involved in the process from the jump, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. There was like a initial kind of treatment, and then I got to add some ideas to that and add some characters and stuff, and like, so it's definitely got a bit of me in there aside from the music. And yeah, I felt like, you know, me and the director kind of were pretty close during the making of it, and just kind of shooting ideas back and forth and stuff. So I feel really part of it, and in a way that is just like, man, I don't know if I'll ever get this kind of experience again collaborating on anime from like the ground up. But you know, once you have something like that, you kind of spoil, yo, like it's gonna be hard just like doing the scoring seat,
Right.
just doing
Right.
that.
Did you have a relationship with LaShawn before?
No, I actually hadn't met LaShawn. He hit me up out the blue too, you know, and I guess I was on his list of people he wanted to work with. And you know, the whole time we were working, he was like pretty quiet, and then at some point in the middle of the process, he was like, "Yo, man, you know, I have all your records." I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, I didn't know, like, you know, I didn't know how into it he was, so it was kind of all right. So he trusts me then.
Yeah, I mean, LaShawn Thomas is another person who's been so involved in the culture
Yeah,
of anime, living out in Japan as well as Korea, and yet
yeah,
working at the animation studios. I feel like that would have been a match made in heaven right there. You guys meeting each other, nerding out.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was definitely the kind of thing where, you know, like trying to like, what stuff do you like? What do you like? Well, you know, but good stuff, man. I hope we keep working together too, because it was definitely like there's something there, just something there.
Well, I mean, as well as Lakeith, because I know he was in Lakeith Stanfield was in Death Note, the live action joint.
Right,
And
right,
everything.
right. Yeah, yeah. He used to carry around a sword too when he would go to Netflix. He used to
Right.
bring a sword to the meetings and shit. Like, no joke.
Yeah. I feel like he was I think he was in an episode of Atlanta where he's just like walking with a sword, like just as like a profile. He's just like walking around town with a
That's
sword or
yeah,
something.
I think that's just real. That's actually him.
So let me ask you, like, what was your approach specifically, like, on a scoring level for this project? Like, where do you start with something like this?
Man, it was so tough because, you know, I felt just like initially like just kind of expectation of myself. Like, all right, so you're gonna do the anime, so it's gonna be like this, right? And you know, just like all these
Mm,
different voices in
right.
my head, and you know, like things I did want to do. You know, people are gonna make comparisons, so you don't want to make it sound like this, you know. So it was just like a lot of that. But I got really there was a moment where I was going to work on the Blade Runner anime series that's happened, and that didn't happen, and I kind of got inspired in a way that it didn't, because I got to use that sound in a way for this show, and I felt like it was a much better fit because it was unexpected. So I had a lot of ideas that I was going to take to Blade Runner. I brought to this, but then I mixed it up with like Japanese percussion, African percussion, and obviously all the hip hop stuff. And then it just kind of gelled like real naturally. And I was just like, oh, good. Blade Runner.
Yeah, I don't have to
work out perfectly. Yeah,
hard drive. I don't got to store this hard drive away and let it just like collect.
Yeah, no, it worked out so perfectly. Cause yeah, I don't think it would have been weird to kind of tread that same water again with that show. And so this sound for this show is super unique, I think. So I'm really excited about that.
Far as like the structuring of scoring, like how do you approach it? Because like with a song, it's like there's a beginning and there's like an end, you know, whether it fades out or whatnot. Like, do you just kind of think the overall meat of it? Like, are you not thinking about how it's going to fade out? Or, I mean, I'm curious.
That's a good question. It's different for every moment. I think before I get an episode, what I would do is just kind of like make a whole bunch of different things, just random vibes with the same kind of palette of sounds. I would just try to build things. And then when I start seeing picture, sometimes I would just watch a scene and then turn it off and just kind of go off the vibe of what I felt in the scene. There was stuff where I would have to go right to picture for like some of the battle stuff. But a lot of it to me was really interesting. I found out like along the way that it seemed like all the stuff is done on a clock or a click track or something, it feels like. And I just I just hit the little tap tempo and watch the scene play out. And I feel like, okay, so this is the scene. We're like in this right here, or, you know, and then you just build something off of that. But yeah, man, I always would find that like that tap tempo for some reason, just like before I started, you know, there was like some imaginary beat that was already edited into the show that.
Right.
Yeah.
That must be an amazing moment when you got to join, you play it along with the visual and it just meshes so perfectly.
Yeah, it's an amazing moment for sure. And, you know, when I had it, when I would get the stuff, the sound, sometimes the sound effects would be there already, but the dialogue was always there. And, you know, when I was doing my part and getting all the bits right, it just felt like, yeah, just that moment is like, oh my God. And I'm like cheering, like, you know, I'm just seeing the scene in the movie theater or something. Like, it's like, yes, this works. This is it. That's it. And it, you know, you get goosebumps and stuff. It's like, well, but you played it yourself. Why is it so crazy? I don't know. The combination, you know, is seeing it all together like that. It is fun. It's really fun.
This is amazing. I mean, you were mentioning yourself with, you know, even Afro Samurai, it wasn't created by a Black creator, you know, and this is like the first one ever. I mean, that alone means so much. Like, why do you think this is such an important kind of project that you've been a part of?
Well, early in the early days, I asked LaShawn, like, man, why do you think we haven't seen anything like this before yet? Like, why is it so weird to see like Black kids draw and animate, not even animation or not anime, Japanese anime, whatever, just like animation in general, comics in general. And he was just like, man, it's just something that, you know, it's hard to imagine because there's not many examples of it. And right. That just tripped me out for weeks. I thought about that. I was like, man, does it really take examples to set the tone? And I really hope that this can be that example for the next wave of animations or next, you know, sketches in some kid's book that, you know, gets him going. And like, that's what I hope for at the end of the day. Really.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I think I saw a TED Talk that LaShawn did like almost 10 years ago in Korea. And he literally starts off with like, no, I'm not a basketball player. I'm not a rapper. Like, this is what I do. And he just rolled his like his resume and portfolio of animations, and he's explaining to this like a bunch of Koreans like who live in Korea.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
You ain't seen this before. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So it was interesting. It's interesting to see that. I feel like he's been on this like mission for so long, kind of showing this intersectionality between both worlds,
yeah.
And like just mentioning before, you can feel the presence of anime so much in youth culture, in hip hop, in Black culture. It's like it's so interesting, and we got this Black samurai based on a real Black samurai, which still trips me out like that.
Yeah, how, right? It's just like, yeah.
That must have been a wild journey for Yasuke, the real man.
I know. I'd be thinking about that too, just because like I remember going to Japan when I was like 10 years old, and like just remember, and this is like the 90s, so just getting mad stare downs, just being like, people just like, whoa, what is this? What am I looking at right now? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm a person. I'm a real life person.
Right. And I've seen like, Thundercats like IG stories when he's visiting Japan and shit. And he loves Japanese culture, but he's always experiencing like this, like people looking at him.
Disconnect. Yeah. The strange disconnect. But yeah, we love it though. We love it.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Looking forward to Yasuke. I mean, just some last words on Yasuke. Like, what could people expect from the series?
Yeah, I think people can expect a little bit of history, a lot of fun. There's a lot of heart in this story. I think that might be the most surprising part of it. I think is just that I think with all the comparisons that people want to make to Afro Samurai or whatever, and all these things just kind of based off of the teaser. There's a lot of heart in this, and there's a couple moments that like low key just still seeing them, like no matter how many times he was like, oh, no matter how close I am to it, it's still effective. So I feel like that's a good sign.
Yeah, and last but not least, like just as things are kind of starting to open up, it's crazy to kind of see the end of something that just consumed and changed.
I know, we all went through it together. Yeah,
right. And it's like June, they're like 100% of things are open in LA again, and all shows are starting to open up. Like for you, what are you looking forward to? You're talking about maybe it'd be exciting to have a new house night, right? Like in LA or something. But what are things that obviously, things have changed, and like what kind of new thing would you like to see, out here in this changed environment,
Yeah. I honestly, what I would love is a new night or like a new party where there's a new sound of like the new generation of people who they just turned 18 in the quarantine, and they got this new sound that is crazy and about to change the game. I want that to happen so bad. I'm ready for LA to have another crazy musical movie. Yeah. It's time.
That's interesting that like you've created. You're talking about this like this kept secret in quarantine, like something was brewing within quarantine of these like new kids.
I hope so. Yeah, I don't know. I gotta dream it up.
I didn't think about that, but that's actually kind of exciting to think like that exists. Like there was this quarantine like renaissance inside the bedroom.
Yeah. Now they're about to emerge. It'd be dope. It'd be nice.
Yo, good seeing you, bro. It's kind of crazy, man. I feel like I've seen you so many times over the last decade plus, just out in these streets in LA.
Yeah.
Love the journey. And yours, man. Excited, brother. Excited for Yasuke. Make sure you check that out on Netflix coming up. Whenever this drops, it's going to be right around the time the series drops as well. So stay tuned, man. Philo, thank you so much, bro.
Much love, bro. Thank you.
Yep. Tune in next week for another episode of Fun with Dumb. Peace.